couldn't give her an internship because my HR told me we would need to apply for a work permit for her. She's from Nigeria, ECOWAS. She can travel. She can come to Ghana for 90 days, but she cannot work. So I couldn't give her an internship because then we'd be out of compliance. And we're a small company. We cannot justify the $1,000 a year work permit fee for somebody who is an intern. Like my investors would, it's just not good business. But this lady is exactly the kind of person I would want to give an opportunity to, because she had never met me and she literally sat in the reception for 2 hours just to meet me, just to tell me. It broke my heart. I managed to ask one of my colleagues at the university to maybe help her, because the university could potentially do something on a work study. Now, we need the ability for talent to move across our continent. So governments, once again, can we find ways so that young people who want to move from Kenya to Ghana, currently I employ Kenyans in Ghana, it costs us a lot of money to employ them, but they have the talent we need, so we will do it. But it makes us less competitive as a business, because all these costs of doing business add up. So that's for government. For funders, please don't just focus on nonprofits. There are so many grants that we can't apply for because we are a for-profit, but we're an African for-profit. We're an impact-focused company. Are there systems that could be adjusted? We have received some money from some funders, and they've decided to sort of, so I think that is changing, but we need more of that. And then, finally, just a mindset among scientists in general. Entrepreneurship is not, we all champion entrepreneurship, but then we demonize business. Entrepreneurs are business people. We all talk about Aliko Dangote and we say, I wish he would support. He built his billions doing business. And so as scientists and academics, let's view business not as the dark side. Of course, we need regulation to make sure we don't have bad actors who exploit. But business is what Africa needs. Business in science is how we'll achieve STISA 2034 and Agenda 2063. Yes, but we will get there, but it will be business that will drive us there, and to be scientists working, developing products that are commercially viable. So please, those are a few things, the honorables in the room, please, if I can just get a way to pay people in Kenya or move talent from Kenya to Ghana or Nigeria to Ghana without having to pay a permit, it would make it much easier for me to employ the talent I need and to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Colin, anything to add to that or to reflect to what we've heard?
No, yes, no, I just want to echo that, there's a sense that business people are bad people. When I returned to set up my institute, I initially wanted to set it as a research center in a university. But that time, no university would accept me. They were so academically superior that a profit-making institute to come was a contaminant of some form. But I'm happy to say that over the past 20 years now, all universities have innovation hubs. They are teaching people to form companies and everything. They almost have become overzealous now, because they are now saying every child must form a company. And now when you go around, all young people have a business card. I'm CEO of this, I'm CEO of that. I think it's important to recognize that only a small percentage, if less than 1% of those university graduates are going to be entrepreneurs. The rest are going to be very competent. There's nothing better about working for somebody, so I do a good job. So I think the government, please don't try to sort of run away from the responsibility of creating people and say to our young people, go and start your companies. I think that has been sort of overdone, and I hope that can be changed so that there is a responsibility to create employment rather than to say people go and form companies, everyone. But I wanted to speak to the issue of establishing regional innovation hubs. I think this model, we are beginning to see it yielding some fruit. I'll give you an example of the one we currently are working in called GC ADA, which is aiming to demonstrate that we can produce early leads in our path to drug discovery. And we realize that the expertise is not found in one country or one institution. So now we have, I think, up to 6 countries and 11 institutions that have come together, because each one has specialized expertise that is required to come up with this lead compound. And I think so far, I mean, we are now in our second year, and we can begin to see how it is easy to work with some people in Ghana, in South Africa, in Mali, in Cameroon, working on one project together. And with the belief that within 3 to 5 years, we can have a lead compound for malaria and a lead compound for TB. And so I really agree with that sort of response from the audience, that let's not wait until we have all the money to make a Pfizer. That will take us forever. But let's use all these delocalized expertise and form consortia that can work progressively together. So I think there is a good hope in that. Then in terms of innovative financing mechanisms, I think this is an area I find quite challenging, because whenever people go abroad, many of our government officials have gone to Singapore, South Korea, Cuba, to see how the things are happening there, and they want to come back and do the same. But what they don't ask is what investment was put in for Singapore to be where it is. Then they come back, they write beautiful documents and spread them around. And no wonder after 10, 15 years, the documents are still the way they are. So it's because sometimes there is no local financing for what we want to do. So if SFA is not funded by Yamachi and other local companies, it will always depend on external funding. I mean, this whole project we are doing here, if these sort of external funders somehow pull back, we'll probably not meet. And it should not be so, like Yahweh has indicated. So we need innovative ways of getting money from within ourselves. It might not be enough in the first 2 years, but people will come together and keep increasing the funding pot so that SFA can now drive the research agenda in the different institutions the way it wants. And AUD and APET will be funding big projects across the continent, not from donor funding, but from the money it is gathered from its national continental contributions. So that would be my sort of my response to those feedbacks. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. So, Nikki, I'm going to come to you. Just maybe the data talent training, which is sort of like a human capital issue in supporting what Ya and Colin have said. If you've got some thoughts, I would appreciate.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. Actually, there's a lot of data science training going on the continent. A lot of different programs are like masters in data science, masters in health data analytics. Increasingly, we're seeing bioinformatics training and health data analysis. You know, data science is now seen as a ticket to better jobs, etc. So I think we have a lot of data talent. I think we have a lot of very smart people. It's something you can train yourself in. You can learn. There's so much material online. You can teach yourself to script. You can teach yourself a lot of these basic skills. But I think it's the same problem that we're hearing all across, is that there are no formal or they're limited formal positions where people can then be employed in a way to use those skills to build our, our interoperable and secure platforms, to build our inclusive data ecosystems. And I think that when we look at kind of health data ecosystems and the kind of data I was talking about, the health data from our patients for our patients, I think it's quite an intimidating
Right. Final thoughts, Isabella, from your side?
Yeah, I'd come back to I'll call it the funding chaos or the COVID chaos. And I think that's where we did respond. And that's where it was demonstrated that some of the barriers that I gave as an example for procurement, all of a sudden those disappeared. We had short turnaround times, we had quick clearance of items. Linked to Nikki's point as well around data. Data was connected from labs, for instance, all across Kenya, centrally to Nairobi, where we were just transmitting information, and data was collected from health facilities. So the systems are there. The model was put to the test in the pandemic. And it somehow, in Africa, it seems we need chaos. We need something to push us. Yet, we need an emergency. Yet we have emergencies every day. We know that malaria kills a child every second, every minute. Pneumonia, the same thing. So we do have the crisis every single day. And I don't know what it's going to take for governments to realize, if you look at just all the infectious diseases, non-communicable diseases, we do have a crisis on our hands, and we do need to activate that R&D ecosystem and optimize it, as well as thinking around how we build that, continue to build that human capital and allow them a place to thrive. So the conducive R&D ecosystem, the conducive R&D environment is required for us to achieve, as we said, it's STISA 2034 and our agenda 2063. And I think if we just utilize the resources we have, and particularly the human resource, and really rethink that, we do have the tools and the elements in place on the continent already, but we're not maximizing them. An example, just one example to close, I had a conversation this morning over breakfast about how do we, strengthen what we're doing in the universities in terms of teaching with the overload of teaching. And one of the examples we had was, we have researchers in institutions. We have potentially, if you have your pharma, then you have people that you can bring into the universities to reduce teaching load and give them 1% of your teaching and enrich how we're training our next generation. So it's really thinking of really rethinking, and as Yao said, just a mind shift change on how we can do things better with what we've got. And I don't think we're doing that at the moment. Yeah.
Colin, do you have some thoughts?
Yes, I was just also looking at in the same area as Isabella, but the localization of manufacturing. I truly do not understand, with the high level of education we sometimes claim to have, that we cannot make APET of tubes. Yet we make these are all locally manufactured, I think. And why is it that we are buying APET of tubes, culture plates from Boring Mannheim in Germany and all these places? So I think that we must have a way of encouraging local production of consumables in the lab. Most of our molecular biologists, they've learned recombinant technologies, which we are all talking about in agriculture. But how come we are buying Taq polymerase, which is one of the most expensive reagents in most of the diagnostic tests? So I really think that some of the grants, either by our local funders or our sort of partners internationally, they must focus on a sort of substitution of things we import for our research. Because as we speak, and I think Yao made a point about his sequencer and all the equipment I have bought, the cost, even by the people who sell it, is 3 to 5 times what my friend in Sweden buys the same equipment. So it is more expensive to do research in Africa than it is to do it outside. So if we do not address that, it will be difficult for our universities to teach science. So most of the students from our universities, they all come out memorizing all the molecular biology. But if you put them in the lab to try to produce Taq polymerase, they will not be able to, because there was no lab that could teach them to do it. And indeed, all those enthusiasts of forming companies, they could actually find people that from university, they will start to produce all these local consumables, and that would reduce the cost of R&D significantly. So I encourage big organizations like NEPAD, I'm looking at all the bosses now and say, let the next call be, can we have a list of the reagents and consumables that can be produced locally, and we'll put $2 million for grants for people to apply? Those will make a difference. But if you keep giving us funds to go and buy reagents from Europe, your money will only move 2 miles instead of 10 kilometers. So I really think that was a very good point from the supply chain logistics. And I hope some of you will take up those funders and even our international funders to just sort of say in the next 5 years, we want to reduce the reagents people buy from outside Africa by 50%. Is that doable, or the international partners?
Thank you. All right, so we have come to an end. It's the third day, so I want to make sure that I'm not keeping people way more than we need to. So if this panel was a success, this is just the beginning of a conversation or an ongoing conversation. Thank you for our panelists for sharing your thoughts and your wisdom. There are clearly some really good, in my mind, actionable things that we've talked about. Thank you for our audience for submitting your thoughts through the survey. We'll definitely use it for our own working, and we'll share it with others as well. And thank you for the organizers for inviting us and sharing our thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kedest and Kalistas Juma Fellows, for that very engaging panel. Actually, someone texted me saying, I wish they don't stop talking. But because of time, sorry, may you please just give me 2 minutes, please? Thank you. Thank you for that very good panel. I don't think I want to repeat what has been said, because this is what we are saying every day. We just now need to act, right? Just a quick question. Africans, are we our own enemies? Just think about it as you go for your break tea. Are we our own enemies? Are we our own enemies to progress? Yeah, just to say that now we are going for a short break for 15 minutes, please. We'll be back at 11:30. Then we'll go into our parallel sessions. Please check on the app. There's an updated agenda where you'll see which room you need to go to for your parallel session. Thank you very much. Let's not chase the hype, but let's build what matters. Thank you.
Hii ndio hiyo hiyo yenye tunaenda